Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. How's life?
Mm. Ah, boring life.
A boring life, really?
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, not cool, but not bad, I guess, also.
Have you lost some weight?
No, I just
Oh,
I
really?
I, I just shaved.
Huh, I see.
Maybe shaving decreases my face's the width of my face, maybe,
Yeah,
right?
smaller than before.
Nice, nice. That's good. The
Ah, what? Behind you, いらっしゃいませ.
I am actually not in my house. So what happened was last night after our class, after my last class last night, I
Uh,
decided I'm going to drive to California.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my way to California now,
Yeah.
and I am right now I'm in Omaha, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So I left my house at around 11 o'clock this morning, and
Mm-hmm.
I arrived here a little while ago. So I'm just driving from one part of the country to the complete other side of the country now.
The blue flag, it means welcome.
Oh, really? It means welcome.
Yeah.
The person whose room this is
Mm-hmm.
like this is one of my friends' homes. He or this is her room, I guess. So she's
Mm-hmm.
giving it to me, for
And
tonight.
just behind you is a festival.
Oh, really? What kind of
Yeah.
festival is it?
Yeah, yeah. This is a handy fun for
Uh-huh.
festival.
Hanji. Oh, it's the Hanji form for the word festival.
Yes, yes. This
Nice.
Chinese character meaning festival.
So you can read the Chinese characters also?
Even into Japanese.
Oh, really? So they're similar between the two languages.
Yes, yes.
Interesting, interesting. Cool, cool. That's awesome. I when I walked in, I didn't realize what they meant, but they looked
Uh-huh.
nice, so I sat down.
Is your friend Japanese?
Yeah, I think she's Japanese. Yeah,
Ah, I see.
yeah. So she likes to decorate her room, I think, with all these nice things. Yeah. Hey Gregory, how's it going?
Hello. Hello. Heidi. Hello, Farhan. Everything okay? Nice
All right.
to see you again.
Yeah, nice
Uh,
to see you.
I'm sorry I miss your tell about you over to California, something.
Yeah, so this is what happened, right? So last night, Gregory, after our last class, remember when you took a walk and you were showing us the video
Yeah.
of the street in Israel, right? So right after that conversation, I was talking to my friend, and my friend said, "Hey Farhan, what are you waiting for? Why don't you come to California?" The reason is really because I wanted to look at opportunities in California for jobs or also for schools because I'm applying to schools, to go back and get my master's degree.
Where is it?
So
Silicon Valley?
my hope is Silicon Valley, yes. So
But
my
now it's not.
right now I'm in Nebraska, so I'm on my way to California. Yesterday, what happened? I like after I talked with my friend said, just come down, right? So I said, okay, my city is 2,000 miles from California, right? It'll take me 3 days, maybe 3 or 4 days. So I left yesterday. I didn't want to fly because it'd be very expensive, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving from Madison to San Francisco. Uh,
You drive? How much time? How long?
today I drove 7 hours.
Mhm.
Tomorrow I'll drive maybe 17 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I stopped just to get gas, and I had a little sandwich today. But tomorrow I'm going to have to go from. My plan is I have two classes tomorrow, right? My plan is to wake up in the morning, drive for 12 hours, find a coffee place or something so that I can have my class, probably in Denver, Colorado. And then from Denver, if I'm still alive, right, I will drive. I'll cross the mountains. Tomorrow I have to cross the mountains, right? I
Maybe
don't.
it's so much for fun. Maybe. you can split it to
2 days.
2 days. No, don't be
Yeah, I shouldn't
big
be crazy.
hero.
I know, I don't
No,
need to be a
don't be
hero.
big hero. No,
I
no, it's
know.
not good. Not good
It's
plan.
I like your thinking, Gregory. I might not do that much because just to Denver from here is like 8 hours. I think I'll be very tired after 8 hours. But if I see that I'm not very tired, then I might drive another 8 hours to Salt Lake City, Utah. So my destination is really, my dream would be tomorrow night I'm in Salt Lake City, but it's way too far. It's like 1,000 miles from here, so I would not be able to do that probably.
You know, I drive for my town to Elat 6 hours, and I so tired after 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. Driving, I actually really enjoy it. So sometimes I do feel tired though because you having to focus on the road for hours and hours and hours, just like continuously staring in front of you. And the biggest thing for me is between Denver and Salt Lake City are the tallest mountains in the United States, like 15,000
No,
feet,
it's crazy. Don't do it.
Yeah, so I don't want to drive in the mountains at night because I probably will die if I drive in the mountains at night. There's
Don't
all
do
these
it,
other,
Farhan.
yeah.
Don't be silly.
Don't, yeah, exactly. I'm
Sorry,
not. No,
my
no.
expression.
It's a good idea. No, if my mom was here, she would say the same thing, right? So absolutely, no. It makes more sense to stop in Denver and then stay in Denver tomorrow night, and then even my friend said there's no rush. That take your time. But I don't want to spend too much time getting there. So, but no, it's a good plan, Gregory. It's a good plan. Tomorrow when we have our class, I'll be in Denver, and I'll spend the time in Denver. I'm not gonna go crazy with Salt Lake City, but the day after, I definitely have to be in Salt Lake City. And driving through the Rockies. I don't know how that's going to be, guys. I've never driven across these mountains, right? I've only seen pictures, and of course I've flown above them, right? But when I see these mountains, I don't know how I'm going to drive through them, like where the road is. Let me show you. Let me just share some pictures with you guys. So let me screen share this real quick. I'm sure you guys have seen the Rocky Mountains before, but I think it'll be interesting. So these are the Rockies, right? These mountains are huge. Like 15,000 feet is, maybe 4,000 meters, right? I mean, these are big mountains. Like I don't,
Wow.
yeah, I have to drive between these, or there are roads. I've never seen the roads. So I want the
I
roads. I
understand.
want
It's very long
dangerous.
and dangerous and difficult trip.
Yeah. I mean, the roads, I know there are roads because people always drive it, but I just don't know where. Like maybe between some of these areas they made roads. I have no idea, honestly, but um, it'll be fun, guys. It'll be so fun. Like I can't wait. I cannot wait. But I have to be safe. I can't.
You go alone?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
car? I hope on car, not on bike.
Yeah, in a car, absolutely. Yeah, not on a bike. No, I would. There's no way. But see these. So I guess the roads look like this then.
Something else.
Yeah,
Something like that. Hmm.
something like that. It's kind of dangerous, right? There's like no like.
Oh gosh, no. 8
Yeah,
hours. It's crazy.
8 hours. Yeah, at night too. It's super crazy. I can't do it at night. I have to do it during the day. Okay. But yeah, so those are the Rockies, guys. Let's go back to our Hangouts page. I'm gonna screen share us back. Where's the thing? Oh, there we go. All right. Salvador, how's it going? Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. So I was telling these guys about my road trip, actually, Salvador. So last night I decided to drive to California.
Oh, no, nice. Maybe that is because the article that we have been reading
Yeah, that
yesterday.
that guy, right? 190 countries, absolutely, right? Maybe that was a reason, right? Well, yeah, it could be many reasons, actually. I think maybe that was one reason, but It was great, great, great experience so far today. I only did maybe, in my trip today, I did less than 15% of this complete trip. So one day of driving for 6.5 hours or 7 hours, just 15% or just under 15%. I still have 85% more to go, right? So it'll be fun. Okay. So guys, let's take a look at today's class, right? Thanks for joining, guys. Wanted to briefly start by talking about the topic for today. So today we're going to be looking at how we create questions in a very polite form in English. We've looked at this class before with you guys. The focus is really going to be on the scenarios. I want you guys to think about the different scenarios in which we have to make polite questions, and then use those scenarios to decide if you want to decide what you want to say. You know, maybe you're in a store, maybe you're in a restaurant, right? Different situations, we need to use different types of polite questions. And then in the second part of our class, we are actually going to take a look at a disturbing story that is, it's about people who sell their children in order to buy things, in order to buy luxury items, right? And it might sound crazy, but this is actually becoming a problem in some societies, right? So you would sell your child for an iPod.
Is it a wrong couple?
Uh,
Couple bought?
I don't think. Oh, maybe actually. I don't know who bought the girl, but the article talks about the selling of these children, right?
Mhm.
So kind of disturbing. I would say very disturbing, especially because you would consider that to be. I mean, what parent could do that, right?
Mhm.
Sell their kid for technology, like for a computer. You know what I mean? Like it boggles my mind. But we'll take a look at that as well, and kind of think of ways as to why this is happening. So in the first part, guys, to get us thinking about the polite questions, right, that we usually make when we are in different scenarios, I wanted to ask you guys about, what are the different places where we could run across polite questions, right? Let's just think of that. What are some of these locations where we would have to talk to somebody politely? Just name them from whatever you think.
In all places, in the work, in the street, in the library, in the cinema, all places.
Yeah.
You have asked polite question.
You have to be polite really in all places, right? So if you're doesn't matter if you're in a store or in an airport or on the street, whatever the case might be, right? You need to use polite questions. But for example, what's maybe a more common example, right? Like in your daily life, let's say you need to ask somebody something, right? I want to focus on a few locations just so that we have some scenario ideas, right? So I'll give you guys, for example, restaurant, right? Restaurant might be one place. What's another one, Heidi?
On the street.
On the street. Okay, so fantastic. I think Gregory definitely covered all of these as well, right? But let's just make a list of these three, and then Salvador, what about one other place where we might have to use polite questions?
The grocery shop.
The grocery shop, right? Absolutely. So these and tons of other options, right? These and tons of other options. But we're going to be focusing on just these right now so that we have somewhat of an idea, right? So that we can use some examples. So let's say you're in a grocery shop, right? And you want to be able to ask somebody, what would you ask in a grocery store? Salvador, what would you want to know?
And maybe request some help, talking about some prices or something like that.
Yeah, requesting help for, let's say, something like prices, right? So what is one way that you could ask that in a normal way without being polite? How could you ask that, Salvador?
Okay. For example, if I am looking for something, can I ask to one employee, could you help me to find the rice?
Could you help me to find the
Rice.
The rice. So you're looking for rice, right, at this
Yes.
grocery store, right? Fantastic. So that's a really that's exactly what we're looking for, right? We're looking for making it a polite statement, and could is one of the best ways to do it, right? If I didn't want to be polite, I could say something like, where's the rice, right? You go up to somebody, where's the rice? Could you show me or could you would be polite, but excuse me, where's the rice, right? Excuse me works, but it's not as polite as we can get it, right? When we use words like could, we can take it to that next level, right? We make it much more polite when we use words like could. So could you, and then a verb, right? Could you show me where the rice is? Fantastic. I really like that example, Salvador. Heidi, you said on the street, right?
Yeah.
So what's a scenario of on the street, and how would you make a polite
In the,
question?
in the foreign country, I'm looking for my hotel.
Uh-huh.
Then I ask some direction to the passerby. I'm sorry, I'm looking for this hotel. And showing my map. Where? Could you tell me where we are?
Could you tell me where we are? Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely, right? Could you tell me where we are? And then they would be able to show you on the map,
Yes.
right? Or something like that. Maybe you could show the map to them. Could you tell me where we are, right? Fantastic, fantastic. That's a good idea. And what about you, Gregory? Any location, because it's really the case everywhere, right? What's something that you could say? Let's choose a location first, Gregory, and then let's make a sentence that we could use.
Hello. Sorry, can you tell me where is it? How much it cost? Can you help me, please?
Yeah. Can you please help me, or can you help me, please, right? A very general question, but also a very, it's a polite thing, right? You can get somebody's attention if you're telling them, excuse me, or, pardon me, can you help me? Can you please help me? Right? Or can you help me, please, right? In any situation, if somebody is like walking by on the street or something, and you ask that, they will probably stop and see what your question is, right? So great job, Gregory. I like that because it's a very general, polite question that we can use in many, many situations, right? Can you help me, please? Can you help me, right? Tons of different ways to do that. So, looking at it this way, guys, right? Laura, welcome to class. Sorry, before I move on. How's it going?
Hi. Thank you.
Sweet.
Fine.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Laura. Sorry.
Oh, nothing.
No, you're saying you're trying to do something. I don't want to cut you off.
Everything is okay.
Everything's great? Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so wanted to know, Laura, we are making sentences using polite scenarios, right? Wow, we're making polite questions in different kinds of scenarios, right? So what's a scenario, Laura, in which you might have to make a polite question? So far we said restaurant, anywhere, on the street, grocery shop, many different places like that. What's another place?
Can you turn off your mobile phone, please?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, trying to listen.
If you're trying to listen to somebody, right? Or if you're in a location like a public place, right? Somebody is talking on the phone very loud, or someone's phone is ringing and disturbing everybody, right? Can you please turn off your cell phone, or can you turn off your cell phone, please? Right? That's a great option. That's something that can be applied anywhere, right? Can you turn off your cell phone, please? Right? So, great. I think that's a very solid question as well, Laura, right? So you guys used some good examples, right? You guys made some good examples. Can and could, very popular verbs, right? Could is a little bit more formal than can, right? If you want to sound a little bit more polite, you can use could, but honestly, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, right? To the native speaker, it doesn't make a ton of difference. The other thing was, do you guys remember how we used did in the past tense to talk about, to make a polite question? Do you guys remember that construction? The did, and then, for example, did you, and then a verb. What was that construction useful for? What kind of scenario was that one useful for? So, for example, let's say, someone comes to my house and then I give them food or I give them like maybe a drink or something and I ask them, "Did you want sugar with your tea?" Right? So that's a scenario that we can use the past tense of does, right, to make a polite request. And it's something the host usually asks the guest, right? Did you want something? Did you want cream with your coffee, whatever the case might be, right? So we hear this a lot in restaurants. We hear it a lot at home if you have guests, right? If you maybe on a flight, flight attendants ask that kind of stuff, right? People that are serving other people ask those kinds of questions, right? So does that make sense, guys? Heidi and Gregory, Salvador, Laura, all of you guys, the did you construction? Did
Yes.
you and then a verb? Okay.
If you use the present time, for example, do you want?
Yeah, you can definitely say, do you want, right? You can say, do you want some sugar with your tea, right? It's it's not as polite, right? So that's the only problem is that did is when you think about it from the did perspective, if somebody says, did you want, right? They're saying that they're asking you, did you ask for it, right? Did you want it, but maybe I forgot to bring it for you, right?
Okay.
That's why it's considered a little bit more polite because you're putting the blame on yourself, right? But if it's not really blame, but you're being very humble and you're telling the other person, hey, maybe I forgot. Did you want something with your tea, right? That's why did is considered just a little bit more polite. But then once again, do you want something else? Would you like something else, right? That's another way. So we use a lot of would, right? Would you like something else, right? Do you want something else? Both of them. Do you want is much less polite, right? Do you want something else? It's almost as if you're maybe tired of them and you want to get rid of them, right? Do you want something else? Otherwise, would you like something else? Did you want something, right? Did you ask for something, right? So those are the types of examples that we could use. Very good question, though, Laura. Any other questions, guys, about the did you construction, past tense, present tense?
I have question in a restaurant. How I call the waiter? It's a problem for me. Call the waiter.
Good, great question, right? How do you get the waiter's attention, right? So let's say there's a waiter kind of far away, right? So what you would do, the best thing to say, excuse me, sir, right? Excuse me, ma'am, if it's a woman, or excuse me, sir. Or you can even just raise your hand, right? Raise your hand, but don't go like this, okay? Don't do the finger wave like come to me. That's actually considered pretty rude, right? You don't want to say like, hey, come here, come here. You don't want to do that. Just raise your hand normally, excuse me, sir, right? And then they'll see you. If you don't have to raise your hand, don't raise your hand, right? Because raising your hand seems like you're in a hurry or it's a little bit more impolite. If you want to be very polite, just, excuse me, sir. Maybe just raise your hand a little bit, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma'am, and they'll come to your thing, right? They'll come to your table. Sometimes, often, actually, Gregory, they say their names at the beginning, or at least in the U.S. Like they sit you down at the table and they say, my name's Clara and I'll be taking care of you today. Mostly they're girls, so they have that kind of like, they sound really, really, really polite, right? My name is Clara. I'll take care of you. So then, if you know the name, just be like, excuse me, Clara. You can say, excuse me, Clara. I have a question, or whatever. Otherwise, sir and ma'am, or some people I know they say miss, right? Because it's like if it's a younger girl, they say miss. But I tend to just I think formal is better than informal. I don't want to sound informal if I can help it, so I just say ma'am. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. Right? I've said ma'am to people that are younger than me. Like I know girls that are like 20. I've said ma'am to, and they laugh because clearly I'm older. I'm older than them, or at least the same age. So yeah, great question, guys. Any other questions about maybe in a restaurant setting or how we get people's attention?
Thank you for answering.
No, Gregory, that's great. No, that's a great question. You're welcome. Heidi and Salvador, are we okay with everything? Laura as well? No questions?
No question.
Alrighty, fantastic, guys. So then, let's take a look then. I want to focus on one last thing, right? So when we use these phrases, right, we want to focus on please, and we want to also focus on excuse me, right? So you can say pardon me, you can also say excuse me, but start the sentence with excuse me if you want to get someone's attention, right? Just like we saw with this other example, excuse me, sir, right? And then please can go in any part of the sentence. It's better, however, if it goes at the end or if it goes immediately after the you in the sentence if you're talking to somebody. So could you please bring me the menu, right? Can you please help me? Or can you help me please, right? So the please goes better after the you or at the end of a sentence, right? And then the very last thing I wanted to talk about was the most polite way to make a sentence in English is if you say, would you mind, plus a verb or whatever the case might be, right? Would you mind? Would you mind? And then after the verb that follows actually has to be in the verb ing, right? Would you mind helping me with my homework, right? Would you mind showing me where the bus stop is, right? Would you mind explaining to me the math problem, whatever. Would you mind explaining the math problem to me, right? Let's think of an example, each of us guys, with the would you mind category, right? I want you guys to go to be as polite as possible, right? Use everything else that we learn in this class. So use excuse me, use please, and also use would you mind, right? Let's make some very polite sentences. Who wants to start? Salvador, do you mind starting?
Okay. Excuse me, would you mind bringing me some water?
And then what can we say at the very end, Salvador?
Please.
Yeah, fantastic, right? Excuse me, would you mind bringing me some water, please? Right? Nobody on earth can say that you were rude when you said that, Salvador, right? That was very polite, right? Starting with the excuse me, ending with the please, and using the would you mind, right? Laura, what about you? Another example, please.
Will you mind closing the window, please?
Fantastic. Would you mind closing the window, please? And what can we add at the beginning, Laura, to make it even more polite?
Excuse me?
Yeah, fantastic, right? Excuse me, would you mind closing the window, please? Right? Great, right? Start with excuse me, end with please, and in the middle we have the would you mind, right? Heidi, what about you?
Would you mind coming to the station to pick me up?
So you left out two things, right, Heidi? You could also add two other things, two other words to that phrase, right? So you could say at the beginning you can say,
excuse me,
and at the end you can say,
could you please?
Or yeah, could you please works, right? You already said please. You already said please.
Yes,
Yeah.
would you mind, right? So would you mind coming to the station to pick me up?
Please. It works.
Please.
You can actually say please at the end, right? You can say, excuse me, would you mind picking me up from the bus station, please? But you know, honestly, in that case, you don't have to really worry about it. I mean, I want you guys to practice the idea. Please, in that example, we can use. We don't have to use necessarily, right? You don't want to sound overly fake either, right? But we talked about that, I think, in another class. We don't want to be too fake when we are being polite. And Gregory, last but not least, another example, please.
Excuse me, sir. Would you mind bring me the bill?
Yeah, fantastic.
Please,
right?
please.
Great. Excuse me, sir. Would you mind bringing me the bill, or would you mind bringing me the bill, please? Fantastic. So I think you guys are getting this lesson very well here. Remember, so we're going to review the ideas later. Could is better than can. Would you mind is the best, and also we should use excuse me and please. And if we use the did, then we can talk about something that we did in the past, something that was maybe served to somebody, and we can ask specific questions. Right? Any questions about any of that, guys?
What about may?
So may as your kind of auxiliary, your helper verb, right? So instead of saying would or could, if you're saying may, what did you have in mind, Laura? What kind of sentence were you thinking about with may?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's like you use in polite way sometimes.
Like, may you bring me a menu? Or, you see, the thing is, you don't use may for when you're speaking to other people. You use may when you're talking about asking permission for yourself, right? So you say, may I use the restroom, right? You're at someone's house and you ask, may I turn on your TV? Right?
Can I say, may I have a glass of water, please?
Yeah, fantastic. May I have a glass of water, please, right? In that example, though, could I would also work very well. Could I have a glass of water, please? Both of those would work very well in that example, right? But may I is really for that permission, right? And in English, when young children learn to make commands, like when they tell their parents, "Can you buy me a gift?" Right? Kids ask that stuff all the time. One of the things parents say is, "Can I?" or "May I?" Right? So parents want to teach their kids, it's not about the ability, it's about the permission. Right? So, it's not, of course, I can buy a gift for you, but are you asking it politely? If you're not asking it politely, you don't deserve it. Right? So a lot of little kids, I was there in the same category, right? Can you? No. May you do something for me, right? So it is taught in that sense, but we don't use it in normal conversation. We don't normally say, may you do something. It's could you do something? Or would you mind doing something? And may is used much more for that personal permission aspect, right? May I use a restroom? May I go outside? May I feed your dog? Whatever, like you're at someone's house, right? But people also say, can I feed the dog? Can and may are used so commonly, they're interchanged a lot between each other. But may is more formal. May I use a restroom? May I do something? Does that make sense, Laura?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
No, that's a great question too. I sometimes don't even think that we use may for some of these situations. So, okay, guys, fantastic. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, go, Salvador.
When we have when we want to a permission to do something, we can say can I or may I, right?
You can say may I or can I, yeah.
What is the politer way to say it?
Definitely may I.
May I, okay.
Yeah, definitely may I, right? So can I would mean people that are very, like, I don't know, very strict people would think that can I, of course, you can go and do whatever you want. You're a free person, Salvador, right? But no, may I is like, oh, now you're asking for permission. Now it's more polite, right? But really the difference is very small difference. But may is more polite.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No other questions, guys? Going once? Going twice? Okay, no questions. Sorry. Sometimes I have to make it a little bit more interesting. Next time I'll auction questions for you guys. Only 2 questions per person in the next class. No, I'm just joking. Okay, guys. So let's take a look here. Here's the article for today, right? And so Laura, you weren't here when I was explaining it, but today's article is actually a very sad article. People in China are selling their babies to buy iPods and laptops, right? So they're selling their babies to finance luxury items, right? So let's take a look at these disgusting parents, right? Excuse my opinion of them, but that's what I think they are, right? So let's take a look and let's see what is going on in China. So Chinese couple, I should say, sells babies for iPhones and shoes, authorities say. A Shanghai couple are facing charges after allegedly selling 3 of their newborns. They sold 3 kids, okay, to pay for iPhones, computers, and high-end shoes, Chinese authorities said. The husband and wife, both in their early 30s and identified only as Tang and Zheng, face multiple charges of trafficking of women and children, the state-run Xinhua news agency reported Friday. The husband is in custody and his wife posted bail, China's Ministry of Public Security said. Right? What's bail, guys? This word bail, what does that mean? If somebody posts bail, do you guys know what that means? Yeah, so posting bail is if somebody gets arrested, right, and then they are not allowed to leave the jail unless they pay some money, unless they post bail. So the bail is the amount of money that you pay to the court to promise them that you won't run away. You know, so you post bail and they let you out of the jail and you can go back home, but they'll still, you know, if they ask you to come at 3 a.m., you must show up at the court at 3 a.m., right? The only thing you're not doing is spending the night in jail or spending your time in jail. You can stay at home, but they can call you at any time. So the husband was actually held in custody, right? In English, when we say the husband is in custody or somebody is in custody, that means that they're in jail, right? They're in the custody of the police. But the wife is not in jail because she posted bail, right? So Shanghai police began investigating the couple in May after receiving tips that they used QQ, a popular Chinese instant messaging system, to place an ad for their newborn girl, the ministry said. Police found the couple by tracing the IP address from their ad, right? So, rookie mistake, right? It's a very basic mistake. If you're trying to sell something online, right, and you're using an instant messaging system, it's very easy to trace that kind of a situation. Police arrested them in June, okay? After their arrest, the couple admitted selling 3 of their newborn babies in recent years for a total of $13,000, the ministry said. They sold the first baby in 2008, the second in 2011, and the third, the girl, this year, the ministry said. Authorities recovered the girl and are now looking for the 2 other children, the ministry said. Neighbors told police the couple live with 2 of their children, ages 6 and 9. The neighbors also said the wife appeared pregnant in each instance, but the newborns were gone shortly after being delivered, the Ministry of Public Security said. Right. Through tracing the wife's credit card and bank transactions, police determined the couple spent all of their sale proceeds on iPhones and luxury shoes. Right. So a sale proceed, guys, this is another way in English of saying they spent all the money that they earned from selling, right? The proceeds are the money that you get after you sell something. So their sale proceeds were all spent on iPhones and luxury shoes. The Ministry of Public Security said the couple also bought computers and that police recovered the items from the couple's home. The couple told police they sold their newborns in the hopes the babies would get a better life, Xinhua reported, and that buyers voluntarily gave them the money. The couple reportedly said they never asked for payment. The selling of babies in China has been a problem in the past. In 2011, the Ministry of Public Security announced that a cross-provincial investigation, so this is something that happened in 2 provinces in China, right? A cross-provincial investigation busted, as in, destroyed 2 baby trafficking rings and rescued 29 newborns in the eastern province of Shandong. The babies were perpetually sold by their biological parents. So perpetually, guys, means were possibly sold, right? So this is another word that means possibly. These babies were possibly sold by their biological parents in southwestern China's Yunnan, Guizhou, and Sichuan provinces, right? So it's been a problem in the past, and it's happened so many times that this is actually kind of a really disturbing and kind of sad situation, right? What do you guys make of this from this article in terms of why would they be doing something like this, or how could someone do something like this? Do you believe them when they say that they gave up they gave their children up because the children would get a better life from somebody else? I mean, what kind of reasoning is that, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Uh, Gregory, I know you're a parent. Why don't you start? What's your reaction to this?
I don't accept it at all. I think it's a bad thing, and I protest against it.
Yeah.
It's not humanity. All this stuff, it's not humanity. Children need their own parents, and if you can treat the children, to your kids, don't burn them. It's
Hmm.
my opinion.
Yeah.
And sell child, it's happened, you know. It's happened. I know it's happened in Israel. It's happened in Russia. I watch films when parents who can not burn child buy it. You know, make biological process and buy in some woman. Okay, it's understandable, but these parents who sell the children for gadgets, I don't understand.
Yeah. If you could speak to them, Gregory, what would you say if you could speak to these parents?
I don't want to speak with them.
Okay. I was gonna say if you want to speak with them, what would you say politely to them? But I don't know.
Politely, it's not very polite.
I don't know if we can, right? I don't know if anybody can say anything politely to these parents, right? But I mean, it's. I agree with you, Gregory, in many many ways, right? That this is not something that is. I can't find any reason for it, right? Heidi, what about you? What do you think about this? Do you agree with Gregory, or do you think maybe they did believe that these children would be more happy with another family?
I don't think so. Selling. They are selling the baby. Several months ago, girl, 6 years old girl was kidnapped. And after the people found her, she lost her both eyeballs.
She wrote her something eyeballs. What happened, Heidi?
Eyeballs. She already lost her eyeballs.
She already lost her eyeballs,
Yes,
so they
maybe.
took her eyes out.
Yes. Maybe some corneal trans transplant.
The cornea. Oh yeah, sometimes they do transplants of the cornea, right? Yeah, corneal
Yeah.
transplant. Cornea is a part of the eye, right? Um,
Yeah.
but then what happened to her? I mean, what's the situation?
Yeah. Sometimes rich people lost son or someone's eyesight. They want to buy anything. Anyway.
So
Anyway.
they'll steal this girl's eyes
Yes. Maybe.
for their son or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I think that's
So
another tragedy. Yeah,
selling the baby means the person who bought the person who can use the baby anyway.
yeah, right. They don't have to even. I mean, they don't. They're not. There's no rules. There are no rules, right? They can do whatever
Yeah.
they want at that point.
Mm.
Disgusting, right? It's so disturbing that they are even able to think about doing this stuff. Is the girl like okay? Besides, I mean, is she blind? Like, what's the situation?
She already blind. She
Oh
is
my
already
God, 6 years old.
only 6 years old.
That's a tragedy. They should find those people and I don't know. I mean, I can't mention it here because you guys are in a class. I would not be very polite to them. You know. What would you say, Heidi, if you could talk to these parents? Would you ever want to talk to these parents?
No, I don't have any idea, but the baby's body can be used anyway. For example, heart transplant or even baby was born, the heart was already some got illness. disease deficit. So if the parents are rich, maybe they won't buy.
Hmm. Terrible, terrible stuff. I did not hear about this little girl, unfortunately, but I don't know what to say, about her case. Honestly, it's a tragedy. Um, Laura, what do you think about this stuff? About the let's focus. I mean, first, of course, your reaction, anything you want to share, but also, do you buy these parents' excuse that the kids would be better in a different house?
And I think that they said the new parents gave them the money because they wanted, but $13,000 is too much.
Hmm.
I
So,
think, yeah, I think they sell the babies, of course.
and they're lying to the police, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, I don't know why. Why would a parent want to give up a child? That's, I think, the root of this equation, right? It's not like they only had one child. They had three kids, right? And they gave up each kid. The first two were boys, the last one was a girl. So it's not a gender issue, right? They don't like boys and girls. They don't like boys or girls, right? They don't care about any gender, any child they have, right? So, Laura, you would not accept that request or that excuse from them. And if you had the opportunity to speak to them, what would you say? Would you want to speak with them, or?
I will say, could you please go to the jail without saying a word?
Wow, you're being very polite there, Laura. Could you please go to jail without saying a word, right? Without saying anything. How long should they be in jail, Laura, in your opinion?
Oh, I don't know. But it will be cool to find out where the kids are, where to what people they sell.
Yeah.
If they have, I don't know, the um, if they look for families to take care of them,
Hmm.
or if that people maybe uh, will use those children for, I don't know, other things, and not raise them like normal kids. Uh, I think that will be interesting to know
Yeah.
which families, what kind of family are they now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right. And uh, do you think that these three brothers and sisters should be together in the same family? Because they obviously they cannot be raised by these, they cannot be raised by their biological parents, right? No way. So they have to be raised by somebody else, right? Is it better that they put the three kids together, or maybe they're already in different families, let them stay in different families? What would you think, Laura?
Oh no, I think if they know if they know the family and that the families are responsible parents, they will take care of them and they will give educations and protections to them. I
Hmm.
think it's okay for them to stay, but maybe they should know that they have a brother or sister and um, let him meet together.
Yeah, let them meet each other, right? Let them meet each other. Let them know about each other. Yeah, fantastic. I think that's a great, great point. Um, Salvador, last but not least, what do you think about the situation? And also, do you buy their excuse about the sellers gave them money and they have better futures now? What's your take on this, Salvador?
Okay, I think that they say the children will be better with another parents.
Uh-huh.
I think that is for sure. And anyone else can be a better parents that they are But the problem is that they are receiving money,
Hmm.
so they are selling their child. So that is the problem. And maybe there's a lot of people that don't have the chance to raise a kid, so they have to put in orphanage or doing in, I don't know how to say, adoption.
Yeah, adoption, actually.
Adoption, right?
Adoption,
In
yeah, yeah.
adoption, but not is the case. They are selling, and so that is a cheap excuse just to get out of trouble.
Yeah.
And maybe they need to be in jail for 40 or 50 years. Then you know
Let's just
that
rest of their lives, right? Some of their, no problem, rest of their lives.
maybe the rest of the life. That's the right way to say it.
Yeah, 40, 50, 43 and a half, 46, yeah, rest of their lives.
That is good enough for them.
Yeah, right. And then, do you think these the children, if they can find the two other brothers, should all of the children be reunited, or should it be reunited under a different family, or do you agree with Laura that maybe they can stay different families and just learn about each other, know each other when they maybe grow up a little bit?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they have to know what happened to them in the future,
Hmm.
and they have to make a decision if they want to know the other brothers or sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. They would have to know. They would have to figure. They'd have to learn about that
But
process, right?
I think that, well, if it was my case, if my parents told me when I was a child, I want to know who are my brothers and what my sisters. So
Yeah,
I would like to know that.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a very human thing. I think we would all want to know something like that, right? If
Right.
especially we had something that, terrible happen to us, right? Thank you guys for your answers. It's not easy that sometimes talking about stuff like this because it's kind of emotional, right? But the bigger question I think is out of all of this, right? The ridiculous reason that this family gave or that this couple gave, and the fact that they used all of this money on gadgets and all of this money on technology, commercial technology, that there's no meaning for that in comparison to a child or a human being, right? I mean, how much is an iPod or a computer compared to a child, right? So, do you guys think that we have reached a point in humanity where now money and power are so important, or money and technology are so important that they are even more important than like family and children? Can we say that about humanity, or do we still have hope? Like sometimes when we see articles like this, they don't give me any hope, right? I mean, I know it's rare, but I would imagine that it's impossible that someone could do something like this. But when I see it's possible, I lose hope in people, right? Sometimes I lose hope in humanity. Do you guys feel as strongly, or do you think there is hope still? What do you guys think about that? Salvador, let's start with you. We'll go the other way this time.
Okay. Um, maybe that is one case in a million. Uh, no, the major part of the people they aren't selling babies, so I think that we can have hope in humanity.
Yeah, yeah. I sometimes, yes, people like you, Salvador, when you say that, you give me hope. But when I see the reality, kids in India getting sold, kids in China getting sold for technology, I don't know sometimes. Laura, what about you?
Mhm. I, I think that the humanity by itself can
Um,
can save itself. I think they need something new inside of their heart because it's like it going worst.
it's going. It's yeah. It's now becoming worse, right?
Yeah, maybe I know it happens in past with slavery that it was terrible.
Yeah,
But maybe we know these things because now we receive news more easily. So maybe it's that we know a lot of new things that are bad, and sometimes in the past were hide because there wasn't internet and those medias
yeah,
communications. But
yeah.
I think yeah, it's going uh, worse also.
hmm It's getting worse. Yeah, maybe it's getting worse, or maybe we're hearing more about it, but it was always this bad, right? Maybe one in a million, this case was happening all this time, right? Or maybe in some countries it was happening much more, but is now after technology we are hearing about it for the first time, right? It's possible. I mean, because for example, war and suffering and all those things, right? Now we have TVs and channels and YouTube. We can just broadcast the suffering of people, right? In seconds. Before we weren't able to do that. So that's a good
Yeah,
point.
if you have your cell phone, you record a video, you put it on internet, and all the world will know about that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. So it gives the power to the person. Absolutely. Heidi, what's your take on this? Humanity, do we have hope or what's going on?
I don't know if they sold their babies in order to buy gadget or accidentally they got money instead of baby. So mm, as a result, they bought the gadget. I'm not sure.
hmm
I I want to think the second situation.
You want to, you don't think it's a second situation?
Yes.
You think they actually sold the kids?
No. Second situation means she intended to not intended to sell the babies.
Just,
Accidentally, they got
uh,
money.
okay.
Then, as a result, they bought a gadget.
hmm Interesting. Okay. So yeah, you believe the parents that they didn't want money, but they received money
Yeah, actually,
indirectly. Yeah.
the mother keep their children, baby inside of their own around 9 months or so, 8 months or 9 months. So after that, babies are very cute. No mother want to leave their kids.
But it happens though, doesn't it? Parents
Mm,
mothers give up their kids all the time. Like
yeah,
we heard from orphanages, adoption clinics, right?
but even animal, when they give birth, they don't want to leave the babies, right? Even a lion, any animals.
Yeah, but sometimes are we always better than animals, Heidi? Sometimes I think we're worse than animals, right? We're the only animals that kill each other, all the time,
The
and
baby.
do all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, humans are animals sometimes, right?
But
Uh,
animals, baby, the mother to protect their babies, they fight with the others.
oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I was saying more philosophically. Maybe humans can be animals sometimes, right? But no, it's a good point, Heidi. I understand what you're saying. There's always two sides to a story, right?
Hmm.
Even though we are feeling very, very bad for these children and we're very angry at these parents, we should give them we should see both sides of the story, right? And
Hmm.
Gregory, last but not least, what's your case or what's your take on this? What do you think? Do you believe their story at all, or is it the same?
Unfortunately, I know situation in Russia. A lot of
Uh-huh.
kids living in orphanage because their parents leave them. Their parents alcoholists, and this situation maybe million children living in, but uh, nobody treat bad treatment in these houses, and sometimes anybody takes them, families take them, children, but a lot of living in this very bad situation.
Hmm. It's very sad, right? It's very sad, guys.
Say not live, not sell, just live. Children.
The kids are not getting education. They're not going anywhere, right? They
No,
just.
say getting education in these houses. Government
Oh,
treat
okay.
them, but it's not good living without family. It's very difficult life. And very bad. For
Yeah.
example, in Israel, in living child, immediately some family adopted uh, alone child.
Yeah.
But in Russia, no.
Interesting, interesting. You know, in many countries, adoption here in the U.S. is very high. A lot of Americans actually go to other countries. They go to Russia, they go to China, and they adopt
Yes,
kids.
say I'm going to Russia and adopt child.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And one of my teachers actually had two children from Russia who, you know, he was their adopted father. You know, so it was an interesting story.
After that, Russian going to complain American not good treat to child. It's so
Uh-huh.
cool fish people.
Yeah, yeah. People are trying to help, but they're stopping the people from helping, right?
Hmm.
It's true. Guys, so thank you so much for a great class, guys. As last but not least, I wanted to just review our grammar very quickly, right? So with the polite questions, we saw that we can use can and could, right? Could is more proper than can, right? Could you help me with something, right? Uh, we also saw that we can use the did construction to talk about something in the past tense and make that a polite statement, especially in the case of serving somebody something. Did you want ice with your did you want ice with your water or whatever, right? And then we also see, for example, there are other cases where the most polite is would you mind? Excuse me, guys. The fourth one is excuse me, right? That was not on purpose. And the fifth one was please, right? So we have the please at the end of a sentence, excuse me at the beginning. Excuse me, would you mind helping me with this, right? Remember, would you mind, the verb that follows mind is always in the ing form. Would you mind helping me, showing me, telling me, right? And then please at the end. And please can also go after the you. Could you please show me something? Could you please help me with something, right? And excuse me, we also use to call people. Excuse me, sir, you know, those kinds of things. Any questions, guys, on the lesson or on the article, anything like that?
No, just a comment. That
Yeah.
was a sad article. I prefer the last article that we read yesterday.
Uh-huh.
That was more motivation.
More motivation. Yeah, this one is more sad, right, Salvador? Yeah.
Well,
This one, yeah. I'm going to when I find those good motivational articles, I put them in. Sometimes it's hard to find good stuff, so I like to focus on diverse topics, but this one I think is a little too depressing, right?
right.
This one doesn't really help us feel happy, right? Okay, that's great feedback for me, you know, Salvador. Thanks for sharing that. Uh, Anything else you guys wanted to say?
For example, past tense of question,
Yeah.
polite way. If I want to ask the beef steaks, how do you want to cook them? Rare or well
Medium
done?
rare or well
And
done.
in
Uh-huh.
that case, how did you want to your beef cooked? Be cooked well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good, Heidi, right? How did you want your beef cooked, right? How did you want your beef cooked? Or you can even say, how well did you want your beef, right? This is actually more common in, for example, maybe a restaurant sells just steak, sells just meat, right? Or a lot of meat dishes. They say, how well did you want your beef? Did you want it medium well, rare, very well done, you know, whatever. So how well did you want your beef? Or how did you want your beef prepared? How did you want your beef cooked? Both of those would work really well, right? Or you can even say, uh, did you want your steak rare? right? You could also just give an option, right? Did you want your steak rare? So yeah, that's a very good question, right? A very specific question for restaurants, which is great. And it used did you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Heidi. Awesome. Salvador, thanks again for your comment and for coming as well.
You're welcome.
Take care. And then, and so guys, I have to actually go to my next class now, but you guys are welcome to join that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon, hopefully.
See you soon, Juan.
Yeah, take care, Salvador. And Gregory, Heidi, see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
How much time? How
Today
long?
I drove 7 hours. Tomorrow I'll drive maybe 17 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I stopped just to get gas, and I had a little sandwich today. But tomorrow I'm going to have to go from. My plan is I have 2 classes tomorrow, right? My plan is to wake up in the morning, drive for 12 hours, find a coffee place or something so that I can have my class, probably in Denver, Colorado. And then from Denver, if I'm still alive, right, I will drive. I'll cross the mountains. Tomorrow I have to cross the mountains, right?
Maybe it's so much for fun. Maybe you can split it to
2 days.
to 2 days. No, don't
Yeah, I shouldn't be
big
crazy.
hero.
I know. I don't need to
Don't
be a hero.
big hero. No,
I know.
no,
I
it's
know.
not good. Not good
It's
plan.
I like your thinking, Gregory. I might not do that much because just to Denver from here is like 8 hours. I think I'll be very tired after 8 hours. But if I see that I'm not very tired, then I might drive another 8 hours to Salt Lake City. Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. How's life?
Boring life.
A boring life, really?
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, not cool, but not bad, I guess, also.
Have you lost some weight?
No, I just shaved.
I see.
Maybe shaving decreases my face's the width of my face, maybe.
Yeah,
Right?
smaller than before.
Nice, that's good. The
What? Behind you, いらっしゃいませ.
I am actually not in my house. So what happened was last night after our class, after my last class last night, I decided I'm going to drive to California. So I'm on my way to California now, and I am right now. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. So I left my house at around 11 o'clock this morning, and I arrived here a little while ago. So I'm just driving from one part of the country to the complete other side of the country now.
The blue flag, it means welcome.
Oh, really? It means welcome. The person whose room this is one of my friends' homes. This is her room, I guess. So she's giving it to me, for
And
tonight.
just behind you is a festival.
Oh, really? What kind of festival is it?
Yeah. This is a handy fun for festival.
Hanji. Oh, it's the Hanji form for the word festival.
Yes.
Nice.
This Chinese character meaning festival.
So you can read the Chinese characters also?
Even it's Japanese.
Oh, really? So they're similar between the two languages.
Yes.
Interesting. Cool. That's awesome. When I walked in, I didn't realize what they meant, but they looked nice, so I sat down.
Is your friend Japanese?
Yeah, I think she's Japanese. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So she likes to decorate her room, I think, with all these nice things. Yeah. Hey, Gregory, how's it going?
Hello. Hello. Heidi. Hello, Farhan. Everything okay. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you.
I'm sorry I miss your tell about you over to California, something like
Yeah, so
that.
this is what happened, right? So last night, Gregory, after our last class, remember when you took a walk and you were showing us the video
Yeah.
of the street in Israel, right? So right after that conversation, I was talking to my friend, and my friend said, "Hey, Farhan, what are you waiting for? Why don't you come to California?" The reason is really because I wanted to look at opportunities in California for jobs or also for schools because I'm applying to schools, to go back and get my master's degree.
Where is it?
So
Silicon Valley?
my hope is Silicon Valley, yes. So
But now it's not.
right now I'm in Nebraska, so I'm on my way to California. Yesterday, what happened? Like after I talked with my friend said, just come down, right? So I said, okay, my city is 2,000 miles from California, right? It'll take me 3 days, maybe 3 or 4 days. So I left yesterday. I didn't want to fly because it'd be very expensive, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving from Madison to San Francisco, uh,
You drive?
Utah. So my destination is really my dream would be tomorrow night. I'm in Salt Lake City, but it's way too far. It's like 1,000 miles from here, so I would not be able to do that probably.
You know, I drive for my town to Eilat 6 hours, and I so tired after 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. Driving, I actually really enjoy it. So sometimes I do feel tired though because you having to focus on the road for hours and hours and hours, just like continuously staring in front of you. And the biggest thing for me is between Denver and Salt Lake City are the tallest mountains in the United States, like 15,000 feet,
It's crazy. Don't do it.
Yeah, so I don't want to drive in the mountains at night because I probably will die if I drive in the mountains at night. There's
Don't
all
do
these
it,
other,
Farhan.
yeah,
Don't be silly.
don't, yeah, exactly. I'm not
Sorry,
gonna do it. No, no,
my
no.
expression.
It's a good idea. No, if my mom was here, she would say the same thing, right? So absolutely, no. It makes more sense to stop in Denver and then stay in Denver tomorrow night, and then even my friend said there's no rush. That take your time, But I don't want to spend too much time getting there. So, but no, it's a good plan, Gregory. It's a good plan. Tomorrow when we have our